Hi there, Nigel. Saunders here. Just 10 days to go before the Toronto Bonsai Society's Fall Show and Sale. Before I get started today, I wanted to show you a gift I got in the mail from Holland, Friesland, from the Netherlands. This just came yesterday. It's a miniature garden set. So I think this will find its way under a bonsai tree in the future. So thanks very much, Holland. Here is a look at the display I set up yesterday. This is the first time you're seeing all the elements together. I still haven't put some linseed oil on the pot just to give it a slight bit of sheen and bring out the color, but I'll do that. I've also got to clean up the pot under the Ficus elastica, but I'll do that closer to the show. So that's the display. I'm going to critique it now. So right now I think if I had to critique it, I'd say the stand is a little too high. I think the legs look a bit delicate for this kind of mass up top. I think it needs a stand of very similar proportions, but maybe a little more sturdy looking in the leg department and not so tall. Being tall like that does bring the tree up to a nice viewing height, especially when it's on, a table at the show. So maybe it's not so much the height, but maybe the legs need to be just a little bit thicker. It just looks a little delicate, I think, the stand. And, not the upper part, just the legs, I think. Yeah, that little stool or other stand here may not be the ideal one. I may try and make a rectangular one. It may look better. I don't know. Like the round pot here and the round pot here match nice. The color of them is pretty similar. So maybe, I've got a rectangular stand under this tree. Maybe I need a rectangular stand under this one also. But, I think the display is quite nice. I think I'm getting into the finer details. And if I get time, I'll play with it. I've got to get my other trees ready, at least to a display standard, and then I'll come back and maybe do some refinement on this particular display. The next tree that I'll be setting up for the show is my Fusion Ficus or FrankenFicus. It's a Ficus benjamina. Before I start trying out stands underneath this tree, I think I need to do a little pruning. There's some branches that are kind of growing up, interfering with other branches. So I'm going to get the structure of the tree sorted out first, and then we'll start working on the display. I've got the tree on the turntable so I can spin it around. So I think the first branches I need to correct, I've got two branches here that are, the one is hanging down on top of the other one. I have a more horizontal branch up higher so I can prune the lower part of this branch off. So I will. Like that. That gives me some separation here. I think this lower branch, I would like to shorten it a bit, but I also want to grow it a little longer to get it thicker and a little stronger. So I think it's okay. It's within the profile for today. But, in future, I'll grow it longer, prune it back, and try and get some ramification and some thickness to that branch. Up in here, I have a few hanging leaves I could prune off just to give me a little separation between these branches. Like that. Just gives a little definition there. Over here I have two branches that are kind of overlapping. I think I need to shorten the upper one. To there. I'll just take the tip off the lower one, redirecting it a bit. Like that. And just a slight improvement. Up here on this same branch, I have one reaching upwards that's growing into this one. I don't think I need it anymore, that upwards one. I'm going to get rid of it. So here I go. Like that. A little more space in between. I can prune some of these back shorter also. Yeah. So I won't remove these ones entirely, but I'll prune them back shorter. There. And I think take the tip off here. And the tip off this one, which I've got to, this one needs a bit of redirection. Off to there. I may even shorten this one more. It's kind of starting to reach upwards. I think that's better. And then there's a funny branch at the back here that's kind of coming forward. I need to take the tip off that and redirect it out the back. So take it off here. That looks better. I have a branch out coming out the front here that has a lot of vertical growth on it. I don't think I want that anymore. Yes, I'll take it off to here, kind of shortening that upward branch, and then I've got to take this one back a bit too. It's kind of an eye poker branch. I'll redirect it out to the side here, like that. So it's not right in your face, and there'll be more correction to that coming in the future. I think I do need to shorten this bottom branch here a little bit. I'll just take the tip off, kind of redirect it a bit. Yeah, take it off to here, like that, and I'll take the upper one off to here. Just, you know, a little bit of correction to that, making it a little more compact. I have a little bit of clutter in here, but I'm just going to prune the tip off here, redirecting it sort of towards the front, this little branch. And I think that'll be it. I want to keep this area kind of filled in, so there'll be more correction coming in the future. The overall kind of branch structure in this tree is still very young. I've got a lot of work to go on it, but you know, it's starting to look nice. It's getting the right profile. It's getting width to the canopy. It just needs a lot of refinement over the next decade or two. There's a branch here that's kind of coming in that will be removed eventually once I get something, a better position that will replace it in future. Maybe this little one coming from the interior here. But for now, if I took that off, it would just look too bare in this whole section. So it'll stay on for now, even though it's not, you know, it's not the perfect branch in the perfect direction. So that's for the future too. I think overall it's looking quite nice. I've got to step back now and look at the overall profile of the canopy. There's a lot of new growth that can maybe just be shortened back a bit, tidying up kind of the canopy. And I think that'll be it for the pruning for today. You can see some of the tips are kind of extending out of the profile. So I think a little bit of cleanup is required. So I'll just take some of these tips off. It's important when you're viewing the canopy to step back from all angles, because you know, this looking down is probably the viewing height at the show. So you've got to make sure you get all the profile in check. And in future, I may be able to, you know, bring the whole canopy down a bit, selecting branches and that. But for now, I want it fairly full for the show. I don't want to do a major pruning and have the tree look really bare. I think that's okay. I think I've got, you know, it's got a nice canopy. It looks natural. It doesn't look like it was just freshly pruned. It looks like it's grown in. And that's the look you want for a show. You don't want to have it look like it was just freshly sheared to a shape or anything. It's got to look like a natural growth on the tree. I've got the tree all pruned up. It's looking nice. So now I've got to find a stand to go underneath the tree and some kind of a display for it. I'll get the tree off the turntable, put the turntable away. And try out the first stand. I'm going to try out the homemade stand first, the one that I tarred up and oiled up yesterday. Let's see how it looks on it. Here's a look at the FrankenFicus on that homemade stand. It's not too bad. I don't think it's perfect. It would certainly do, but I don't think it's the perfect stand. You can see the pot is very fancy. So I've got a very plain stand at the moment, fancy pot, and a very fancy tree. Maybe the stand needs to be a little more fancy. I think this is just too simplistic for this tree and pot combination. Here is a look at the tree on the sort of reddish colored walnut stand. It's not too bad. This reddish color, red is the opposite color of green, so it makes the pot maybe look a little more vibrant. It also makes the stand look a little more reddish. It's not bad. That would certainly do. It's a nice size stand for it. It brings the tree up to a nice height. It looks nice and solid underneath the tree. The mass of the stand and the pot look well balanced. Yeah, it's not a bad combination. Is it the perfect stand for the tree? Probably not, but it would certainly do. Let's try some other combinations out. Here's a look at the tree on the maple stand. It's not bad. I think it's better than the walnut stand. And I'm trying to think why. Maybe it's because the stand color matches the clay on the pot, where you can see areas of the pot where the glaze didn't completely cover the feet, and it kind of matches that, tying it together. The stand's a little more lighter. I don't think it looks too light. It's a strong looking stand. It's got nice, nice feet and everything. It looks plenty strong enough for this tree. I wouldn't want to go any more delicate on this tree. I think then you would start, the stand would look maybe a little flimsy underneath the tree. But I think this is sort of as small as you can go with the stand, or as light as you can go with the stand. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good combination. I think that's the best one so far. Here's a look at the tree on the bamboo slatted kind of stand or table. I'm not liking it. I think the tree needs a little fancier stand under it. It needs to be elevated a bit, and the stand, this one, if you call it a stand, is too big for it. It just doesn't look right. I'm not keen on it at all. Here's a look at the tree on the cedar stand. I like the strength of the feet. I like the fact that it's a fairly fancy stand. I don't think it's the stand for it, though. I think maybe the top of the stand looks a little delicate for it. I like the strength of the legs. I think maybe if it had another piece of wood on top of it, kind of a tabletop, it would look really good. The next table I'm trying out is this oak table. It's quite a large table, but it would have room to put an accent plant on the same table. The coloring in that looks quite nice with the tree. I think it looks quite nice. I'm going to try it with an accent plant beside it. Before I try an accent plant here, I'm going to try putting those two Thai figurines each side of the tree and see what it looks like. Here's a look at that display concept. I don't think it's working. It's kind of cool, but yeah, it just not quite working. I'll try with just the one offset and see if that's any better. Here's a look at the display with just the one figurine at the side. I think it's too big. I think this figurine's too big for the tree. They're like two different scales and they conflict, and again, your eye doesn't know where to go. Do I look at the figurine or do I look at the tree? So that's just too distracting. Here's a look at the display with the cement Buddha figure here. I think that's looking pretty good, and as the cement dries, it'll lighten up, and I think it'll kind of match the trunk more. So I could just fill that with maybe moss or some little plants or something. And I think that's not a bad display. It's quite attractive. I'll try planting something in the little pot here. I'll try a clump of moss for starters, see how that looks. Maybe I'd have to raise it up a bit, put some soil in, but that kind of ties the moss here with the moss here quite nicely. And the cement color goes nicely with the trunk, so it's a good possibility. Let me put a bit of bonsai soil in here and I'll raise the moss up a bit. All right, a little bit of soil on the bottom here. And I don't have to worry about, not having a drainage hole in here because the cement wicks away the moisture really quickly in this. So that gets the moss up to a nicer level in the pot. Okay, I'll give that a watering. I think that's quite nice. Is it better than the other stand? I think so. I think it's yeah, I think it works quite nicely. I almost feel like it needs another stand underneath the tree. Sort of a stand on top of a stand, or a mat or something underneath the tree, just to kind of define its space. No, that combination doesn't work at all. That looks terrible. Yeah, that's not what I was thinking of. I looked around. I don't think I have anything that would improve this display. I do have one last thing to try, and that's my solid chunk of granite. So let's try that out. I did find another low stand that was more kind of what I was thinking, the stand on top of a stand. Again, it's okay. I don't like the color of the low stand on top of the stand. I think it's too much, it's just too much of a different wood than the stand. I think it doesn't look so good. But that's what I was thinking, that kind of maybe just, a piece of wood or something on top that would kind of just give the tree its own little space. And I put a little wooden piece underneath the figurine there too. It's okay, this display, but let's try the granite. There's the tree on top of that kind of really low stand. It's okay. It's better than no stand at all, but it certainly doesn't add to the presentation. It's just the bare minimum. I think it needs something a little fancier or more unique. Finally, here's a look at the tree on the granite slab, which is very, very heavy, by the way. It just looks like a box under it. It's, I think I've got a fancy tree, a fancy pot, and then this very plain, modern-looking box just doesn't work. You would need some very highly stylized tree to go on top of that granite slab, I think. Something very modern looking with a modern pot, and yeah, it just doesn't work. Even though the coloring is nice with the figurine here. The granite matches that wet cement perfectly, but yeah, it's not an option for this tree. So far I'm liking that maple stand, I think, the best, the smaller one, and second place would be the big oak table. So let's try it again on the maple stand. Here's a look at my ficus benjamina on the maple stand again. Now, I think this is the best combination. I like the height of the stand. It gets it above the figurine here. So the top of the figurine kind of comes just below the table level here. So it kind of puts it in the background. It's there, but it's not competing with the tree. And I think that's really important. I think if the figurine was up the same height as the table, it would be distracting. But I think right now the focus goes straight to the tree, and the figurine is just sort of there in the background. So I think that's a good combination. Now, the only final thing I need to do to this tree is to prune the moss up. It's kind of getting thick around the base of the tree, and I would need to clean it up. So right now I have a lot of bonsai soil showing, so I need to bring the moss right up to the roots of the tree. So I think right now I'll just prune the moss back, and then as it gets closer to the show date, I'll start fitting really fine moss between the roots and bring the moss right up to the base of the tree. All right, here I go. I'm going to prune the moss with my curved scissors. Just taking a layer off the top, trying to keep it green, so I don't want to go too deeply with my pruning. But there is still 10 days for the moss to kind of grow back in. So I'm just taking it down to the point where it starts to go a little brownish or blackish, and that's as far as I'll go. I'll probably do one video where I moss up all my show trees in the one video, doing the final touches to the planting, you know, stepping back, having an overall look at it, and make any adjustments. My ficus benjamina is all ready for the show. I just have to do a few minor details, mossing it up and cleaning the leaves. It is time now to pick show tree number 3. The misting system just came on in the greenhouse. It's doing a really, really good job. I'm so happy with it. It's just fantastic. It's such a beautiful day out today. Beautiful warm temperatures, full sun, just fantastic. So show tree number 3 is over here, and I had a tough time deciding. So it was between my 2 cedar forests. I have the Avatar Grove here, the large one, and I have my multi-trunk tree surrounded by little ones here. And I'm leaning towards this one because I think my Avatar Grove, you know, there's a lot of adjustments I want to do on it, straightening out some of the trees. This tree, or this forest, is still fairly young, and I think the landscaping would take a lot of work getting it all ready, which I don't mind doing, but I think I'm going to save this for the KW show, and I think I'll put this one in the Toronto show. So let's get it on the table.